Hey y'all, welcome back to the Heart of Home. I was not planning on filming this, but I just feel like there's some of you who want to see this. And so I'm just going to quickly show you guys what I'm doing for my worms this winter. Last winter, I actually overwintered our worms inside, which some of you might be thinking, ew, doesn't that smell? No, not when you have a healthy worm farm and it's aerobic, meaning it's, well aerated and it's not stinky and smelly. However, these guys, I never got to sifting them out. And so there's actually a lot of worm castings in here. Now, I could sift these out and I could go put them in the garden and let the worms just be worms and overwinter in the garden. However, I'm kind of running an experiment here. I have read that you can overwinter worms outside. Yes, the majority of those worms will die because we're in zone 5 here in eastern Iowa and we very often get below freezing, especially for like December to March in those few months. However, we are already in November and we are experiencing really low temperatures. So tonight it's actually supposed to be a low of like 20, 21 degrees Fahrenheit. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to give my worms any chance, I need to do it now. I need to prepare the worm beds now. And so that is what I'm doing. I actually just prepared the bees and I feel bad because I didn't film it, but I also don't know what I'm doing. Like there's so much noise in the bee world of what's best. And so I need to figure out what's best for me before I share it with you guys as well. And the worm world, I feel like, is less pressure because worms are really cheap and bees are not. You might be thinking, how in the world are you going to keep your worms from freezing? Because once they freeze, obviously they die, kind of like we would if we froze. And the answer is, that's not my goal. My goal, yes, is to keep as much warmth as I possibly can with the hopes of maybe some mature worms making it. However, worms have cocoons in the soil, and what they say is that those cocoons will hatch in the spring. So that's what we're trying. If you're here and you are a worm farmer and this is a method that you use, or maybe it's a method that you absolutely hate and has never been successful for you, please let me know in the comments below because I'm constantly learning and I'm a really big fan of community and I don't know everything. I'm just sharing our story, our testimony here with what we are doing in this little suburban homestead. So let the comments be a teaching section, not just a criticism section, but a teaching section for myself and for others watching. So here's the game plan. Obviously, if I keep the worms up on this stand, they'll be exposed to more cool weather. Now, northwest is that direction, and so I'm not so concerned about northwest winds hitting them, though we are kind of like in a little funnel here, and so if the wind catches right, it'll rip through here. And so what I'm going to do in order to keep them the most warm that they can possibly be is I have 2 moving blankets. You can kind of see the one that's been hiding underneath here, keeping them warm on like those light, chilly nights. I'm going to lay one on the soil here. I'm not going to cut back my hostas or do anything with the leaves and the flowers. I'm just going to leave them and let them take nature's course. And they're going to provide natural insulation. So for anybody that loves to like overwinter their yard and garden and prepare it for spring, I would highly recommend that you leave your plants for the winter. I know it's not the prettiest thing, but trust me, there is an entire ecosystem living in these plants and they play a part. In nature, we don't go and cut them back. So let them do their thing. Now, I'm going to lay the blanket down. I'm going to lay the totes down there after I fill them with leaves. So the leaves will provide as, carbon material within here, but they're also going to provide as insulation. I do have some grit here that I got on Amazon. I'll have this linked in the description. Worms need grit to process their food, and I haven't given them really much lately at all because they've kind of been like way down on my priority list. There's other things we've been focusing on. If you are watching this and trying to learn about worm farming, you don't need to buy a special grit online. I tried a bunch of different options. This is just one of the options I tried and I like it. I couldn't tell you the difference between Worm Basics cornmeal based worm food enriched with trace minerals and then crushed eggshells. You can also use sand and all sorts of different things. Find what works for you and is in your budget. So I'm gonna open these guys up. I've had these little Aldi bags and some cardboard in here, mostly just because they are soaking up. These worms are like, it's so cold. It's soaking up any moisture in these bins, and there's been a lot of moisture, but you can see like we've had some below freezing nights and the worms are still moving, still doing good. So I do have high hopes. And they still have food in here, so I'm not worried about that. They're not going to be eating as much over the winter too. They're going to be preserving energy. So, all right. hopefully you guys can see me from that angle. I don't have my camera stand because I wasn't planning on recording this. I am leaving that Aldi bag and the cardboard in there. There's no reason to take it out. I should have sprinkled that grit before I put the leaves in. Oops, I'll do it to the next ones. These guys look really good. So before I put any more leaves, I'm gonna take those sticks out because those obviously are harder for them to process. I'm gonna put the grit in here and then put more leaves on that. Now in a tote this size, I really just take a couple like fingers full, if that makes sense. It's probably like 2 tablespoons. All right, time for the last tote. There they are. All right, push. Got a flower in here. Escapees. I need more leaves, and thank the Lord we have an abundance. Okay. I've got the grit and the insulation, the leaves, in the totes. So I shouldn't need to get back into them unless we have a really oddly, which we do have them, warm day over the winter where we're above 50. Then I'll come out here and actually put some more food in them if they need it. But I shouldn't have to get back into them at all until next spring. Okay, now all I'm gonna do, I've got them down there. The tubs all have holes drilled on the side because worms do need oxygen, obviously, so I couldn't smother them. Granted, they kind of smother themselves when they dig into the earth, so. But all I'm gonna do is lay this other blanket that they were sitting on top of them, and then let the leaves collect around them and just let snow collect around them. They'll all be natural insulators. So it's kind of a mystery. You guys will be in for this experiment. I'm sharing it with you guys before I even know if it works, so don't take my word for it. Again, read the comments, because maybe somebody more experienced and more wise is commenting in the comment section, but I'm gonna go ahead and get those covered up. Quit. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the little bell notification if you want updates, especially if this video specifically interests you, or just come back in the spring. I don't care, whatever works for you. I'm just here to share what we are doing with y'all. But until then, I'll see y'all on the next video.